What's good, baby? It's your boy Lax the Barsmith, and I'm coming here with a mild talking piece on why I now currently carry a 22 as my small appendix carry gun, and what merit the 22 long rifle has as a carry cartridge. First and foremost, anything smaller than 9mm is what I would consider suboptimal as a carry round. You have to accept from the gate, if you're carrying something smaller than a 9mm, it's suboptimal. You can get, some 380s with really hot loads that are about like mild low end 9mm, ball loads. Ammo technology has gotten better and made some of these suboptimal calibers more effective, but there's still suboptimal calibers, especially when the technology for 9mm has progressed to the point where some 9 is hitting like low end 40, so ammo is growing across the board. I, however, want to talk about why I carry a 22 right now. For anybody that, doesn't watch my Twitch or anything like that doesn't already know. This is my former small appendix carry gun, right? A Ruger LCP, Gen 1, thing's garbage. I can't remember if I have it chambered or not. I don't think I did. Yeah, so this thing is garbage. The slide is fucking stiff. I mean, I can run it just fine. But if I had to manipulate this one-handed, it's not happening. I don't like it with the flush fit 6-round mag. Hold up, my 6-round mag. Here. I don't like it with the flush fit 6-round mag. This is the definition of a literal pocket gun. This is as much hand as I can get on this gun. It's a 380, right? It's a 380. It's not a 9. A lot of people would think, oh, it's a 380. It's not that bad. This is the worst handgun I've ever fired in my life. I fired hot loads out of a 44 Magnum, weren't bad. Hot loads out of a 357 weren't bad. I've shot a lot of hot 9 loads, 38 Super, 45 40. I've shot a handful of bigger handguns. This is the worst handgun I've ever shot in my life as far as recoil goes. 100 rounds of shooting this thing, and I just don't want to shoot it anymore. It's not fun. I don't enjoy it. It's not accurate. It's got the most garbage freaking 8-pound trigger that's like double action trigger is what it feels like. But it's single action. This thing doesn't even have restrike capability. It's a terrible pistol. And the only reason I have it is because it was a gift. My Uncle Joe died, and when he died, he gave all of his, firearms and stuff to my Aunt Susan. Well, my Aunt Susan came over to the house one day, couldn't run the gun. This is too stiff, too hard to do. I mean, it's just a terrible gun. Everything about this thing is bad. The only thing good about this is that it is small. It's unreliable. It jams like 40 or 50% of the rounds that I put through it have jammed. It doesn't matter if I'm running the flush fit stock 10-round or 6-round mag, or if I'm running the 10-round pro mag. It doesn't matter. This gun does not cycle reliably, does not function well. I mean, you can't even call what it has sights, right? Can't even call that. Hold up. We're gonna move this in the back real quick. Not that I care if y'all know if any of my shit's dirty or not. It was just distracting me in the background. Anyway, so yeah, these sights, let me see if I can get them kind of long. They're basically non-existent. These sights are absolutely terrible. This is a belly gun. This is what I call a "that's my purse, I don't know you" gun. That's what this is. This is a "that's my purse, I don't know you" gun. Is 380 a better, more effective caliber on target than 22 long rifle? Duh. Duh. Absolutely duh. If this exact same gun was in 380, I mean, it kind of almost is with the PK 380, but that's still not as nice as the P22. If they made literally this same gun in 380, I would carry it. I would feel more comfortable with a 380 than a 22. But back to this. This gun is so terrible. I literally have nothing good to say about it other than it's easy to conceal, and that the first round will go bang. It doesn't have problems with striking the first round. I never had like light primer strikes or anything, but it doesn't cycle. It doesn't matter how hard I death grip the freaking thing. It's just a bad gun. Right? And if you have an ineffective tool, it doesn't matter how good the nail is, right? If you could hand me the best Damascus steel, handcrafted, hardened, crazy $5 a piece nail for a nail gun, and if the nail gun they're being shot from is a piece of shit, why, why even have it? Why even care? Why even put good nails through it? The gun's a piece of crap. It's not going to do its job effectively. That's how I feel about this. That's how I feel about this. I can barely get this thing to hit a pizza box at 7 yards. A pizza box. A pizza box. I got video on my YouTube of me drawing this gun from concealment, 1.08 seconds, A-zone headshot. So now we're getting to why I carry a 22. I'm of the belief that whatever you can afford to train with, like the biggest, most competent caliber that you can currently afford to train with, is probably what you should be carrying. I will caveat that and devil's advocate my own argument by saying if you're somebody that can't shoot all the time, but you consistently shot that handgun over years, at least every other month, and you've got 5,000 rounds through a handgun, you can probably get by with just shooting, once every 2 months and a lot of dry fire practice and a lot of draw and reload practice. You don't have to physically fire your gun to get effective training reps in. However, there's no training with something this small. There's none. This gun doesn't serve a purpose that justifies training. The only thing you do with this is verify that the gun cycles, and it doesn't even do that. It's a piece of garbage. The only reason that I won't ever sell this gun is because it was given. It's all I have of my Uncle Joe. I love my Uncle Joe. I miss my Uncle Joe. He was a very interesting, very unique man that lived a freaking cool life. He was a good dude. But he had a bad taste in some of his firearms. And that LCP is one of them. And I'll love it, and I'll cherish it, and I'll never get rid of it. But I don't the only way that I'd carry that is if this broke. And I've gotten so used to carrying a competent firearm again that I don't even I don't want to carry this. Instead of carrying this, I would just carry this. This is my full-size carry. Canik TP9 SFX. I've got about 2,000 rounds through this gun. But I can't afford to train with this often, right? 9 mil, it's not as expensive as it was a couple years ago, but I can afford to train with this particular handgun at the rate that I feel like I should be training at in order to justify taking my firearm into society. So, now we're getting back to 22. We've already admitted 22 suboptimal, 22 is not that effective as a self-defense caliber when it comes to just putting rounds on range. If you're used to drilling like IDPA and 3-gun and IPSC and USPSA, a lot of your training and a lot of those targets and a lot of those stages are based on center mass shots, right? Center mass shots. Center mass shots with the 22 on somebody with thick clothing are not effective. End of story. If you're using a 22 and somebody is in thick clothing, you have two options: pelvic girdle, face. Other than that, you're not doing something that's genuinely effective. Now we'll talk about when is the right time to carry 22. All right, not necessarily the right time, but what is the right gun? If you're going to carry a 22, right? If you're going to carry a 22, actually, let me roll back a little bit. Why do you carry as a person? Do you carry for only your defense? Only your defense? Or do you carry because God has given you a heart of protection and that you as a man would not be able to stand for some evil madman shooting up a Walmart or a mall near you, and you know that you don't want to deal with it, you don't want it to happen, but if it does, you're not going to stand there and let evil do something. Evil prevails when good men stand by, say nothing, and do nothing. I can't call myself a good man if I stand by and watch evil do something and I say or don't say anything and don't do anything. And so I ultimately decided, okay, I need something that I can cheaply replace this LCP with, within reason. Reliability it's a carry gun still, so it has to be reliable, right? You lose a little bit of reliability when you go to 22, but that's also why I'm going to talk about one of the features of this Walther P22q in a second, and why I ultimately think that this probably is the best carry gun if you're going to carry 22 for a lot of different reasons. I don't think that there's another 22 on the market that makes more sense currently than this P22 based off of what it's capable of and what other 22s are capable of. You know, I could be wrong, but I'm talking about a mid-size appendix carry gun. I'm not talking about going and getting a SIG P322 and full-sizing a 22. You know, at that point, you're better off buying a 9mm. You're better off buying at least a big 380, you know, a bigger 380. But, so, let's talk about the good things about this 22. And why, ultimately, I am comfortable and okay with carrying a suboptimal caliber, because the weapon that it is in is inherently a good weapon. This Walther P22q is a good system. It's a good system. Yes, there is people that have issues with their P22s. Yes, the first generation of P22s were unreliable and extremely ammo picky. Yes, some of the modern P22Qs can be ammo picky as well. But here's the thing. Guns have break-in periods. Guns have break-in periods like any other, you know, machine, right? There's a break-in period. Parts marry to each other over time. And the marrying process of parts on a gun like this is a little bit longer than it is on something like, let's say, that canik that's sitting up there. The amount of recoil and force and friction that 9mm is causing inside of that gun for all those parts to wear against each other and marry to each other, that is... it's a much heavier force that's impacting the gun, right? You have more going on with the gun. So when a 22 is pushing this thing back and forth, it's not pushing it with the same oomph as a 380 or a 9 or something like that. So areas that drag, like the tip of this hammer right here, you can barely see it because my camera, but along the edge of this hammer, there's some wear and tear from where the slide, the internals, ride over the cross of the hammer when they cock the hammer back, right? That is a common spot that causes these things to jam a little bit in the first, like, 500 rounds. I'm almost 1,000 rounds into this one right now. I went to the range yesterday after installing this Tandem Cross Victory trigger, and I put 150 rounds through it, 0 malfunctions. I had to restrike 1 round, but it's Federal Bulk, you know, BYOB. It's, you know, I'll show you what ammo I was. That's what I was running, Federal BYOB. It's not, you know, terrible ammo. I'm sure it'd be fine for a bunch of 1022s and stuff like that, but for handgun, like, I wouldn't carry that ammo. It did run flawlessly yesterday, minus that 1 restrike, but I've had enough issues with that ammo that I wouldn't carry it. The thing is with 22s, like, 22s are dirty. You got to clean them more often. You need to clean them every time you shoot. I haven't cleaned my canik in the last, like, 2 times of shooting it. I'm not even gonna lie to you. I'm gonna do that as soon as I get off the video because I've reminded myself that I haven't cleaned it in the last 2 times of shooting it. But 22s are also inherently, it's a dirtier cartridge, right? It's 22 long rifle. The majority of the powder is not being burned, so that some of that stuff gets inside of your gun, gets in your barrel, gunks it up. You have to clean these guns. So when it comes to the reliability of a 22 long rifle, you have to understand, one, the issues with the ammo. It's rim fire. It's not center fire, right? Rim fire is inherently less reliable than center fire, and you have to accept that if you're going to carry a 22. And if you're going to carry a 22, you have to accept that it's a defensive gun, and if it's carrying a round that has possible issues with light primer strikes based off of the ammo and not the firearm, you need to be carrying something with double action capability. You need to be able to restrike your round. You may draw your gun, and it may be that 1 in 1,022 round that doesn't go bang. You need to be able to hit that thing again. So if you got a Ruger LCP in 22 in your pocket that's single action only, and your luck runs dry when you have to draw, congratulations. Now you have to manually operate a firearm that somebody now knows that you have and is not functioning properly in front of them, and get that back on target to fight them. With this, I just pull the trigger again, and it cocks. I do have 1 complaint, and 1 complaint only, about this P22 as a carry gun. This is a California compliant gun, and with the way the magazine safety works on the inside of it, my dad, who understands more about gunsmithing and the internals of these things than me, told me that he thinks that it would actually mess with the reliability of the gun to take out the particular magazine, the magazine safety inside of here. So that's my only complaint about this as a carry gun, is it does have a magazine safety. You do need a magazine inserted to fire the firearm. That is a downside with any carry gun, period. I wanted to take it out. I wanted to de-California it, but this is the only one I have at the moment. So I'm not going to take my one carry gun and do any testing on it that may really mess with the reliability. The trigger is fine after putting the trigger in. I've had no reliability issues out of my +5 base plates other than the last round not loading into the gun. I think like 3 or 4 different times, and that, you know, the followers are plastic on metal. It's like any other part on part. The follower is going to have to marry to this mag as well. So the more I push into this and the more I load and unload the mag, the more the parts will run against each other and wear. They will become more reliable. But as far as letting off the first 14, I've literally not had an issue with them at all that wasn't related to ammo. None. The gun is at almost 1,000 rounds. The last 150 I put through it, 0 malfunctions, 0 jams, ran like a champ. I was pulling a little bit low right because I went to a flat face trigger, and so it's presenting a little bit, you know, the wall presents itself at a different part of the trigger pull, so I've got to get used to that because I've been training on the regular trigger. But if you're going to carry a 22, you need to carry a competent 22. You know, this is not a full-size 22. This is not much, like, it looks like it's a decent-sized firearm in my hand, you know, when I'm showing it like this, and it's not setting, like, next to my head as a direct reference, but let me show you what a Ruger LCP with a 10-round mag looks like. It's really not that much bigger. It's a little bit longer barrel. That's about it, and it's a little bit thicker than the LCP. The LCP is single stack, and it's pretty thin, but everything about this P22 is, it's a better firearm. Like, this firearm, the only attribute that this has, that this will never have, is that this is this small, and can be as concealed as easily as it can. But this is still an extremely easy to conceal firearm. I mean, dumb easy. Stupid easy to conceal. Dumb easy to conceal. Bam. And even if I suck my belly in a little bit, let me pretend that I'm not fat for the moment. Suck my belly in. So not going anywhere. But it's fast and it's available and it's ready. A 22 that you can afford to train with, that is reliable, that is broke in, that you put better ammo in, like some Ely because their primers are better, or some CCI like mini mags or stingers, which is what I'm currently carrying. If you're gonna run a 22, you have to have good ammo. You have to have restrike capability. You want more than 10 rounds. It is a 22. You want more than 10 rounds. Shot placement's extremely important. Shot placement, it gets worse under stress unless you have an insane amount of muscle memory built from practice and from shooting and from training. I am going to replace this Walther P22q at some point. Ultimately, the main thing that caused me to buy it and be comfortable with it and to be comfortable carrying a 22 is that I eventually want a suppressor host. 22 suppressors are cheaper, they're easier to suppress, they're really quiet. This is going to be a fantastic suppressor host. So, I'm not just shelving this gun when I'm done. Like, when I'm no longer carrying this consistently as my small carry gun, it's going to be because I'm carrying either like a Canik MC9 Prime or a Smith & Wesson CSX E series with a 3.6-inch barrel. Smith, if by some random occurrence one of you dudes that are working on the CSXE series happen to see this video, for the love of God, if you make that gun double action, single action, it is arguably the best appendix carry 9mm hammer fired gun on the market, period. Make it double action. Make it double action. Anyways, back to the 22. You never want to carry lower than 9. But sometimes you have to. Truthfully speaking, like, yeah, 380 can do its job. Yeah, 32 ACP could do its job. Yeah, 22 can do its job. But truthfully, you don't want to carry anything smaller than 9 mil, right? And so if you're going to carry something smaller than 9 mil, it better be reliable, it better be accurate, it better be fast, it better have more than 10 round capacity, and it better have a good trigger. If you're carrying a 22 that doesn't have those things, you're arguably better off with a 380 you can't train with, right? I would carry this before I carried this same gun in 22. Even if the 22 was more reliable, I would still carry this before I carried the same gun in 22. Because of the ammunition. Because there's no restrike capability. So, I guess we're summing the video up with, not everybody can afford 9 mil, not everybody can afford 380, 40, 45. But what you can afford is better than what you can't. A gun is better than no gun. Even when it's something this trash and you have to recognize that, like, you're not stopping a mall shooter with the LCP, bro. Unless you're right behind that guy and he starts shooting at the people in front of you. Like, you're just not doing that with this gun. It's not accurate enough. It's not reliable enough to engage anybody like that. If I was Elijah Dickens in the middle of a mall eating and I had to choose which one of my small guns I was carrying, and my options were this LCP or this Walther p22q, I promise you I'm picking this Walther p22q every single time. I don't care that it's 22, because that Walther p22q is capable of putting one right here, and that LCP is not. That LCP past 7 yards won't touch a pizza box. It's garbage. It is literally a that's my purse, I don't know you gun. This Walther p22q will reach out and tickle your teeth. Sorry for the camera getting fuzzy at the end of the video, but if you're going to carry a 22, you got to recognize the faults and cons of a 22, and you have to combat them to the best of your ability by getting a gun that's worthy of carry. Right? If you're going to get a 22 that's worthy of carry. If you're going to get a full-size firearm for carry, don't get a 22. If you're going to get a full-size firearm for carry, bare minimum 380, preferably 9 or better. Bare minimum 380 if you're carrying a full-size firearm. As long as you can afford it. But if you're going to carry, 22 long rifle, I don't think that there is a better gun on the market for fitting the role of a 22 long rifle carry gun than the Walther p22q. The gun is fantastic. I love this firearm. The ammunition that comes out of it will always be a con. Regardless of how much I like the gun and how competent I am with it, I fully recognize I am less armed than if I was carrying a 9mm or a 380. But the 380 I have is not a 380 worth carrying. The 22 that I have, well worth carrying. And that's why I'm sticking with 22. Sorry about the last of the video being fuzzy. If you enjoyed this content and this random dude on the internet ranting about guns and why he carries a 22 now for a small carry, then, smack that like button. And I hate that the camera's fuzzy because that sign right there says the most important thing that I'm going to tell you today. Jesus Christ is Lord. John 3:16 and 17. For God sent his son. For God so loved the world that he sent his only begotten Son, that whoever believe in him shall not perish but have everlasting life. John 3:17. For God so loved the world. I ruined this whole video. This is scripture that I've known by head the entirety of my life. Hold up. I'm going to read it right. Because I'm not redoing this whole video, but I'm getting this verse right. Okay, not NIV, KJV. There we go. KJV. For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, that whomsoever believe in him shall not perish but have everlasting life. Bam. No, John 3. 3. And then 17. For God sent not his Son into the world to condemn the world, but that the world through him might be saved. Those two verses right there, that's the most important thing you've heard this video. Even though I butchered them embarrassingly a moment ago, it's the first time in my life in the last decade that I haven't been able to spit that off of the top of my head. I'm ashamed. I need to read my Bible more. But anyways, God loves you. Jesus loves you. Christ was a real man that walked this earth. That is something you cannot deny. Even atheist historians admit to the existence of Jesus Christ. You can combat all you want inside of your heart and spirit, whether you believe he was God or not, God in the flesh. But I as a man, I know that Jesus Christ is Lord. I know that Jesus Christ came to this world and died for me and died for you. And the most important thing you can get from this rambling about a 22 is that Jesus Christ is Lord. Love you guys. Thank you. Y'all be safe. Peace and chicken grease.